So today I wanted to talk about Killjoy and what makes Killjoy so strong. Many of you will know that Killjoy is very strong and she was the most picked agent in Champs. And obviously we did get a nerf to certain agents like Skye and Jet pretty heavily. Killjoy also did receive a nerf. Her ult went to 9 cost. But if I'm being honest with you, that definitely isn't enough to make Killjoy not worth playing, as I'm going to explain in this video. But before we get into that, first let's talk about the sponsor of today's video, Gosu Academy. Because not only will you get access to their top tier coaches and learning from literal tier 1 coaches and players, you'll also get access to their daily 10-mans. And I can't recommend these daily 10-mans enough. Not only are they a great way at getting better at the game and realizing maybe where some of your weaknesses are and what you need to improve on and then helping you improve on those areas, it's also just much more enjoyable than ranked. Ranked is a cesspit, we all know that, but these 10-mans are a great way of actually having fun whilst playing this game and also getting better. And for anyone who uses my link in the description or in the pinned comment, you will get a month free of the Gosu Academy. So it's literally just a free month of receiving coaching from tier 1 pros and coaches, and also being a part of the daily 10-mans where you can definitely get better and also have fun with this game. So it's everything to gain, nothing to lose. Join in the link in the description or in the pinned comment below. And thanks for Gosu Academy for sponsoring the video. Let's begin with the defensive side, and we'll start with just a simple comparison between Killjoy and the other Sentinels. Now, we're not going to be talking about Sage and Deadlock because they're almost a different subclass. We'll be talking about Killjoy, Cypher, and Chamber. And to me, there's two main things that you want a Sentinel to do on the defensive side. One is gain information, and the second one is to have stopping power. Now, when I'm talking about stopping power, what I mean is your ability to stop the opponents from coming to your space. For instance, think of someone rushing down onto your site and, how good is your agent at being able to stop them, maybe at the choke point, from getting in onto the site. But so let's begin with a comparison, and we'll start with Cypher here. And for Cypher, obviously, he does give you a ton of info, right? Between the trips and the camera, you're going to get a lot of info from Cypher, but his problem is the stopping power, right? Where for Cypher, you might even have to sacrifice some of that info to gain some level of stopping power, where you take away a normal info trip to add it to kind of like a kill trip that you put on site, somewhere sneaky on deep site or whatever. But the problem is with that is even that is not true stopping power. You're not really trying to fully stop them at the choke point or whatever. You're kind of outmaneuvering and out finessing them by, hoping that they run into a trip and maybe you'll get a kill and then run away, right? You're never really a Cypher truly no, you are not coming in whatsoever. That's not really the way that Cypher works, and so his stopping power is somewhat limited. For Chamber, though, you will have stopping power, kind of a different kind of stopping power, really, like a high risk, high reward, where you are risking your own life, potentially, to gain that stopping power, but opponents are going to have to be very careful anytime they come towards a Chamber's site. So Chamber does have that threat of being able to really, punish anyone coming. It might not be true traditional stopping power, it's stopping them at a choke point, but it definitely is a major threat with Chamber. His problem, though, of course, is the information, right? He's only got one trip that, is range restricted and is pretty easy to destroy. It's not really the best information you can get from a Sentinel, and so that's obviously what Chamber's downside is. But this is where Killjoy is just better than the other options, because for instance, if I put a turret down, something like this turret will see both in towards garage and if they come onto the C site. So it gets a lot of info just on its own. And then if I want to, I can come and put an alarm bot on B, and all of a sudden, I'm covering 3 of the 5 lanes on this map. Right, just with 2 abilities right there, I'm already getting a ton of information. But with this alarm bot as well, I can put down nano swarms, maybe something like this, and if they trigger this alarm bot and try and come into the B site, well, the nano swarms say no, right? Especially considering that the alarm bot gives vulnerable if it goes off as well. I have a ton of stopping power. So you see that Killjoy kind of has the best of both worlds, right? She just doesn't have that major downside in either of those 2 areas on the defensive side that maybe a Cypher or a Chamber would. But to understand why Killjoy is so good on the attack side, first we need to understand the role in a default that a Killjoy or a Sentinel might play, right? So this might be a pretty basic default here for a Sent, right? Where we're in a 1-3-1. We got our Sentinel player over towards B, our controller is out towards A, and our initiators and duelist is towards mid, right? And this is going to be pretty common across the board. And the idea of these kind of defaults is that wherever your 3 is, that's where, you know, you're going to be taking the space, right? So for instance, in this scenario, it probably would be towards mid. We're going to use our utility and whatever to take some space over towards mid. Now, the players who are on their own here, the ones, their job really, their main job is just to not die, even give supporting utility, you know, like smokes and whatever to, you know, where you're trying to take space and, you know, just gain information, right? This is where a lot of your ranked teammates will go wrong because this guy will just run up here and try and take a bad fight, right? And probably die, right? That's where a lot of people in ranked go pretty wrong. And it's not that you can never take space as one of these, you know, one players. Like, of course, you got to find your timings and at some point you got to, you know, show that you will be a bit aggressive here. But, you know, the majority of the time, or at least a decent amount of the time, you're not just going swinging this corner on your own every single round, right? You are just gaining information for the team. But this is where Killjoy can be so good because the turret can pretty much do that for you on its own. For instance, if I come and put this turret on this corner of the box just here, this turret will watch over towards garage and out towards if anyone's pushing mid. So 2 lanes here that this turret is watching on its own. And it's doing that job in the default. Say if we're, you know, defaulting towards A, you know, that turret is doing that job for me of watching mid. And here's the thing about Killjoy that is different to maybe some of those other Sentinels, is this turret will watch mid point. I can even come and join. You know, if there is a fight over here towards A, I can even join as the Killjoy and come out here and, you know, help out in the fight towards A, right? I can be out here. The turret is still watching over here towards, you know, garage and out of B. If anyone pushes, it's still doing that job that, you know, a player normally is doing. But now the turret's just doing it for me on its own, right? Just a free piece of utility that I get has done that job and is doing it probably better than a player could, because you wouldn't want a player in this angle, right? Where you could get peeked off 2 different angles. It's doing it better than a player could just for a free bit of utility, and I can go and help support, you know, the rest of the default if needed. And this is just not true of agents like Chamber or Cypher, right? Where if I was playing Cypher, and sure, I can go and put a cam in mid and get, you know, a similar sort of thing going on where I can watch a push out of garage or out of B here, right? I can still do this, which is doing a similar sort of job to the turret there, but I can't go and join the default over towards A and have this camera be up. Right, I can't go and join and help out if there is a big team fight going on here, right? I can't sprint across and know that this is clear at the same time and still have that information, right? Like, that's the advantage that Killjoy has, and the same obviously is true for Chamber as well, where with Chamber, you're probably just going to have to risk your own life, right? And just actually, you know, use your body here and start, you know, swinging these angles and actually trying to take a fight. Obviously, that's kind of more Chamber's goal, but in that kind of default, you know, that's maybe not what we want if we just do want some passive information and making sure that no one's pushing up. And this is true on Ascent as well, right? I can either come and put a turret like this down if I want to, and that turret will watch out towards B main and it'll watch if anyone pushes out of mid, either going up the stairs or coming down the stairs there and getting really aggressive in mid. Or I can come and put a turret here in B main as well, right? That watches out towards the B main. And guess what? I can go in again, join. If we're defaulting towards mid here, you know, I can, whilst the rest of our team is kind of pushing up, you know, kind of towards the top of mid there, you know, I can be here, you know, and just kind of hold this for my team if I want. Or if they get into a big fight, I can come and join the fight, right? And again, this is the advantage of Killjoy on this attacking side compared to the other Sentinels, is that in this default, I can still gain a ton of information, but I'm much more free in what I can do because this turret ability is insane. And guess what? It's free and I get it every round. It's just insane how good this thing is, how, you know, multifaceted it is. And this, I think, is why Killjoy is so good. It's all down to this guy. Oh, and by the way, she also has one of the best ults in the game. That might be a good thing as well. And so that was just my quick take on Killjoy and why she is so strong. To me, it all kind of comes back to the turret. You can make the lockdown 12 ult points if you want. I still think that she would be better than the other Sentinels because I think that the turret is just so universally good, and it's a free ability that you get every round. It's just so strong. And so to me, the turret probably is the thing if we want to nerf Killjoy that needs a nerf, because I think Killjoy will just continue in her reign of dominance if not. And we've seen this with multiple agents in the past. If they have a very strong signature ability, like Jet, like Chamber in the past, like, you know, that's what makes some of these agents really, really strong.